TV47 Kenya, Instagram at TV47KE, and YouTube at TV47 Kenya, or visit our website on www.tv47.digital. You can drop your complaint or feedback at our offices, House Number 3, West End Park Court, Muthaiga North, Nairobi.
The world is...
Peel citrus fruits without the mess. There's only one downside to eating an orange: the tedious task of peeling it. To avoid the mess and frustration, roll citrus fruits and/or microwave them for a minute for easy peeling. Just be careful not to burn yourself.
Before fainting, it's common to experience some of the following symptoms: dizziness, lightheadedness, sweating.
Did you know that the term Big Five began as a way of referring to the 5 most difficult animals to hunt on foot? The lion, leopard, rhino, elephant and buffalo were the 5 large African mammal species that were known to hunters as dangerous, and successfully hunting them was considered an accomplishment.
When someone chokes, advise them to cough. And if this is not effective, bend them forward and give them about 5 back blows to try and clear the blockage. And if they're still choking, give them up to 5 tummy pushes by holding them around the waist and pushing inwards and upwards above their belly button. If they are still choking, call for medical assistance.
Did you know that an elephant's trunk is actually a long nose? Elephants use it for smelling, breathing, trumpeting, drinking, and also for
Oh, what a weekend it has been. It was such a busy weekend. What about with the Russian, Valentine's, rugby, nini, but one name rang true across all these conversations, and that's that name, Sifuna.
Nifuna Sifuna.
Nifuna Sifuna.
Nifuna.
Mimi ndo Sifuna, sisi ndo Sifuna.
Sisi ndio Sifuna.
Wow.
15,000 people.
I tell you.
Sifuna. Sifuna, Sifuna. Nifuna, sifuna.
I tell you. Good morning. This is the Morning Cafe, the 16th of February, 2025. Oh, what a relief. We're done with that weekend. Oh, gentlemen, congratulations if you survived Valentine's weekend. Now we can move on to the rest of the year.
Actually, you haven't survived yet. In fact, if you did do anything this Valentine's Day for your partner, stress inaanza leo Monday fresh.
Kwa nini?
Blame games. Why didn't you? Why didn't you? Why did you?
I tell you, pressure. Anyway, we're here to wake you up the best way we know how, and we're going to be looking at the big headlines. Today's big conversation is here with us. Matters ODM, Sifuna versus the other side. Linda Ground, Linda Mwananchi. Which is it? Which is which?
Yes.
Let's take a look at the question we're asking you this morning. And this will lead to our conversation. ODM Linda Ground, ODM Linda Mwananchi, each camp pushing a different narrative. 2-term, 1-term, respectively. Is this the end of the 20-year-old Orange Democratic Movement? And will ODM survive up to 2027?
Talk to us. That's the question you're asking this morning. But I feel like Sifuna is just the man of the hour.
Yes. Oh, of course he is. But everyone, even all bloggers who oppose him or support him are just talking about Sifuna.
Yeah.
Either
Actually,
way.
we've had people who've been the man of the moment. Kulikuwa na Morara Kibaso, kukakuwa na Umtata, kukakuwa na former Chief Justice.
Have any of them gotten to this level where a whole weekend we're just talking about one name?
I feel like it's just because they don't strategize vizuri. You know, Sifuna strategize.
Strategize, imemwangukia.
Man of the moment.
I saw one person even claiming that even the crowd at Kitengela, and this was a blogger who works for the other side, does not support this formation. I said, but no, those who are not, that was not a crowd for Sifuna, that was a crowd for Babu Owino. Okay, what's the difference?
What's the difference? Because they were all there.
They were all there.
Yeah. Anyway.
This is a big conversation and we'll be looking at the dailies, but of course you can interact with us. Answer this question so that we can sample your views on all our social media pages on X, TV47 Digital.
TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. This is the question of the day. Is this the end of the 20-year-old Orange Democratic Movement? Will the party survive up to 2027?
Make sure you use the hashtag Morning Cafe TV47. You can also tag us individually. My handle on X is at Fred Ndimuli, sorry.
My handle is at Ann_Dida. Let's come back and take a look at the weather. All right, let's see how the weather is in various parts across the country. Nandi, it's a cloudy day today. This morning is 13 degrees. 23 degrees is the highs at Nandi Hills will experience today with a little bit of precipitation. Homa Bay is a little bit hot, 18 degrees this morning. It's a cloudy day as well, highs of 26 degrees today. In Nyeri, it's a mostly cloudy day, a little bit of sunshine there. This morning is 13 degrees, highs of 24 degrees today. That's as far as Nandi Hills, Homa Bay, Nyeri County are concerned. Wajir, it's very, very hot today. It's a partly sunny day, they say. This morning is 24 degrees. That's very hot. Highs of 33 degrees. In Kwale County, hot as well. This morning is 23 degrees, mostly sunny day. Highs of 33 degrees today, no precipitation. Machakos, it's raining this morning. It's 15 degrees, highs of 24 degrees today. So this is the weather situation today across various parts in the country. Let's have the quote of the day. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally, but from what you do consistently. Show up every day, give your best, and trust that the process will lead to progress.
All right, let's take a look at the dailies, and of course we start off with the regional ones, and East African is top. US eyes control of DR Congo minerals. That's a big story on the front page of the East African this morning, and this is a weekly paper though. Washington says profiteers and smugglers are exploiting uncertainties of supply chains in the DRC. And now it says it is planting transparency as a code among its allies, the US and its interests in the East African region, especially when it comes to the minerals, given a lot of prominence on pages 4 and 5 of the East African. You can read a lot about this because, yes, why is the US so interested in DRC, in the East African region, and about the minerals? You remember even the feud between Rwanda, Paul Kagame, and Felix Tshisekedi.
Yes.
The peace deal was brokered in the US. Why is the US so concerned about this?
Yeah.
If you're interested in matters regional, I think the East African has some very interesting stories. Ruto back to Addis once AU reformed. Yes, he was there last week. That's President William Ruto. And President William Ruto also on the front page again, this time round with Princess Zara, who was in Kenya. And she's been awarded now the Elder of the Order of the Golden Heart, EGH, at State House, Nairobi on February 13th. That was on Friday. So yes, President Ruto here and there on the front page of the East African this morning.
All right, let's cross over to Uganda now. We start off with the Daily Monitor. The main story here is about the killing at the Uganda Christian University, how police tracked key suspect. It's a trail, and they say detectives tracked the deceased and the suspect's phones for 2 days, tracing him to Budaka district. There he was found peeling cassava alongside his mother. The suspect, Hussein Taiwaiko, had worked at Pamela Tumwebazi's home for 3 years until his departure last December. Now, Pamela Tumwebazi, as the dean, was killed last week.
I find that this headline a bit presumptive. Okay, it's a suspect. He's not convicted yet.
Yeah.
So, you know, people assume that if you've committed murder, probably you're on the run somewhere. But then if you find someone peeling cassava, does he really look like a murderer? Not a suspect.
Yes.
Remember, he's still a suspect up until now.
Yeah.
So they've just tracked the main suspect. Whether or not he's the person who actually committed the crime, the investigations are still on.
Innocent till proven guilty.
Yes. Right.
That's the main story on the front page of the Daily Monitor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the new vision still in Uganda. Top schools by region, and they're still continuing ranking schools following their primary level exams. Traditional schools bounce back, and they have a list there of about enough schools across the country. Also top students from across the regions. Remember, in Uganda, matters education and ranking of schools, teachers, subjects, performance is big news. So that is what the new vision goes with.
All right, let's cross over now to Bongo, the Citizen. Medicines, poison, or just business? Rise of traditional remedies. That's the main story on the front page of the Citizen. Traditional medicines are not only holding the ground, in some areas they are flourishing at a pace that is difficult to ignore. I think everyone is using traditional medicine.
Even in Kenya, you've realized that people are now going for herbal, some powders, some roots.
Marubaini and all that.
Ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha. Yes. Now they say the public often assumes that all herbs medicine shops are registered and safe, which is not necessarily the case. Some remedies may contain harmful substances, incorrect dosages, or contaminants. This is according to Dr. Clemens Mushi, pharmacist and clinical researcher in Tanzania.
Something that should be noted, and I think this is a question we need to ask even in Kenya, the difference between medication and supplements.
Yes.
Because we may think there's something about traditional medicine, but there are natural supplements to think. So probably something we need to clarify on there.
All right. Once again, the question they're asking, is this just business, or is it medicine, or is it poison? Property and land. Why diaspora feels disadvantaged? Another story here on the front page. New import curbs position Tanzania to grow local industry. Capital crunch across Africa puts startups to the edge. That's the Citizen.
Right. Crossover still in Tanzania, gazeti la Mwananchi, habari ile ile ya utitiri maduka ya tiba asili. Swali lile lile ni dawa, sumu au biashara. Liko kwenye ukurasa wa mbele. Sio habari kuu pale, lakini imepewa kipaumbele. Kuna jambo lisilo la kawaida linaloendelea katika miji mikuu ya Tanzania. Ongezeko la kasi la maduka ya dawa za asili. Hali hii inajitokeza wakati ambapo nchi imekuwa ikipiga hatua kubwa katika huduma za afya za kisasa. Lakini pale wametumia bango moja ya tiba za magonjwa kama ya nguvu za kiume. You've seen that. Mshipa wa ngiri, kaswende sugu, kisonono na mapenzi. Hapa sasa hatuna hakika ni tiba, ni dawa za kiasili ama ni ushirikina. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili wa gazeti hili la Mwananchi. Lakini habari kuu pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Mwananchi ni Wasira ataja makundi ya kusaka maridhiano. Mahojiano maalum na huyu aliyekuwa mwenyekiti wa CCM bara. Anasema ataja wajibu wa serikali, agusia jamii zilizopoteza ndugu, mali, waliopata ulemavu yaliyotokea Oktoba 29. Asema hakuna kesi za kisiasa nchini, asisitiza hakuna haki bila amani. There's no justice without peace.
Yes, this is the deputy CCM, deputy party leader.
Makamu mwenyekiti CCM.
Yes.
Yeah. Habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Mwananchi.
All right, let's cross over now and take a look at the local dailies. We start off with Taifa Leo. Kimeumana ODM, kimenuka wanasema. Mkutano wa Sifuna maarufu kama Linda Mwananchi uliovutia umati mkubwa ulivurugwa kwa vitoza machozi na ghasia, huku kinara wa ODM Oburu aliyeongoza hafla ya Linda Ground eneo la Tononoka akisisitiza kuwa katibu wa chama hicho ni Catherine Omanyo wala si Sifuna aliyemtaja kama katibu wa mahakama, quote and quote. Kundi la Sifuna laandaa mkutano uliotibuliwa kule Kitengela, mrengo wa Oburu ukifanya hafla sambamba kule Mombasa. And you can see this photo here on the front page. This is a massive crowd. The one that was there in Kitengela.
The intention by the editors on this paper was to put the picture from Tononoka against the picture from Kitengela.
Yeah.
Of course now attracting you and drawing you to draw a comparison between the two. Yes.
Wewe tuambie.
Wewe mwenyewe jijibu, sisi hatusemi nani, wewe angalia picha zenyewe. Wahariri pale Taifa Leo ameweka picha zote mbili pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele.
Ujiamulie. Kenya yamaliza ya 3, Nairobi Sevens ni habari nyingine. Hapo Ujerumani waongoza katika raga hiyo ya dunia iliyofanyika Kenya kwa mara ya kwanza this weekend. Ole Lenku na Nkedianye macho kwa useneta mwaka 2027. Anasema gavana Lenku anamaliza muhula wake wa pili, hivyo hawezi kuwania tena. Kindiki asema hatishwi na kelele za chura. Mimi ndio nani? Mimi ndio deputy president.
Now that reintroduces, you remember now Dr. Oburu Oginga went back and said he had been misquoted.
Yes.
That his earlier assertion that they were not going for DP Kindiki's seat was actually a misquote.
Yes.
So now he says they're going for it. So it has brought up a new debate, and we'll be looking at that. It is part of our conversation this morning.
All right.
The competition for the number 2 slots. Yeah.
Mjadala umezuka kuhusu hatima ya wadhifa wa Kindiki baada ya ODM kusema inataka kiti hicho mwaka ujao. Waislamu watofautiana kuhusu tarehe ya Ramadan. Tofauti zazuka baada ya ushauri wafuatilie mwezi usiku wa Jumanne. Now Ramadan and the Lenten season starts this week. Yeah. So Eid and
it's going to
Easter
be a very
will be around the same time.
I like that environment, especially when both, because they are the 2 major religions in Kenya, when they go all for the next 1 month.
Yeah.
And both the Catholics and other Christians as well as the Muslims go into fasting and all this.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting period.
It is.
Yes.
Njaa hali si hali kaskazini mashariki, maelfu ya wakazi hasa Mandera na Marsabit na hata Kwale hatarini kuangamia kwa njaa na ukame. Gazeti la Taifa Leo.
All right. Let's take a look at the Star this morning, and the Star talks about pensioners to retire with millions in new NSSF savings system. This is just one of the big headline there, but of course the big story is still on Sifuna. And they have pictures there of thousands attending Sifuna's rally amid chaos and tear gas, and Sifuna holding a flag atop a vehicle in Kitengela on Saturday. This was a big ODM ousted Secretary General Sifuna, James Orengo, Saboti MP, Caleb Amisi, and Embakasi East MP, Babu Owino, among other leaders. Now this is interesting because back in the 90s, Orengo was in the same spot, still on top of vehicles during the clamor for multi-party democracy. He was not with these young people. He was with people who are now considered old, others have already died.
Yeah.
Martin Shikuku, people like Kijana Amalwa, people like Gitobu Manyara, who are no longer on the front pages, no longer on the forefront in as far as politics is concerned. But Orengo is there. He was there back then, he's still there now. And I think one of the cartoons has made mention of that. But the big story away from Sifuna is pensioners to retire with millions in new NSSF savings system. Remember that starting this February, if at all you have a pay slip, you'll realize that the NSSF deduction has gone up significantly.
108,000.
Yes, so now employees earning over 108,000 will save at least 155,000 per year, which is huge.
Yes.
Previously, we were saving a paltry amount. And the promise is that once you retire, I had someone calculate that a person who gets into employment at 20 and contributes consistently until you turn 60 and you retire, you'll end up with about 35 million shillings.
Wow.
In pension savings, which is significant.
That's good money.
Yeah, that's good money, 35 million shillings at retirement. But wale wazee, wamepitwa na wakati. Anyway.
Can you order 50,000 and below? Don't worry, no need to panic.
There's a story on the inside pages that this one we cannot ignore. And this one is on page 22 of the Star. Yes, this is a human interest story.
Yes.
It has to do with what people are doing. Youth fear baby boom. More than infections amidst condom crisis. So they say that there's only 150 million condoms currently available, but that does not worry many people. So they're not using condoms, but their problem is not
pregnancies.
No, the problem is not infections. It is a pregnancy. Because for pregnancy now, they have alternatives.
Yes.
They can use birth control pills and all that. But condoms, iyo shida yao kubwa, sio pregnancy, shida ni STI. Yes. No, shida ni STI, sio pregnancy.
Yes. No rubbers, no worries. Kenyan youth fear baby boom, not infections.
Yes.
So they're okay with having STIs?
They are okay. They don't care about STIs.
Yes.
They don't care about STIs. Bora tu mtoto asikuje.
Interesting.
So that's a problem there. That's on page 22. It's kind of confusing.
Yes.
All right. That's the Star.
Long live the king. How taste the traditions continue to influence governance. Let's take a look at the Daily Nation now. Starving amid plenty crisis. Official data shows 810,000 children face acute malnutrition. It is a national disaster, and they say a tale of two Kenyans has emerged, with thousands staring at death due to famine ravaging parts of the country, particularly northern Kenya, where emaciated Kenyans and dying livestock should prick the conscience of a nation that is carrying on with business as usual. Now, officials say an estimated 3.3 million people across 16 counties are facing starvation, yet in some other regions such as Mount Kenya and Eastern, a gluten production has food rotting away on farms or being fed to livestock. The irony of life. And this story has been covered on 5 pages. The front page, page 2, 3, 4, and 5. We are not talking much about the northern Kenya. That's what this story is about.
So there's a glut in some of the markets, especially in areas where are considered food baskets for Kenya, in Nakuru. The picture they've used on the front page is the market in Nakuru, where we have a lot of tomatoes. There's actually a glut of this product. Market prices have really gone down. Meanwhile, people in some areas of northeastern province, or northern Kenya have no food. There's that story again, away from this one.
Yeah.
Pale juu lazima, they would have made mention of the Orange Showdown. What happened in Tononoka vis-a-vis what happened in
Kitengela. On the inside pages, of course, they make mention of that drought story in the northern Kenya. When the rains fail, pastoralists watch their wealth turn to dust. Daily survival battle for hungry Marsabit learners. Tomatoes everywhere, no one to buy. Sasa wengine wako na plenty, wengine hawana anything at all. Stakeholders load education reform bills. That story about Kitengela tear gas, bullets in Kitengela as police disrupt Sifuna rally. Can you imagine tear gas even in such a rally? Maybe these Kenyans were just there to listen.
It reminds me that he's the only one who said, why are you tear gassing a bad? Why tear gas a bad?
Why are you tear gassing a baddie? Tax paying, water, power, and basic services. On the back page, Kenya praised for staging a flawless world tournament. World Rugby Sevens Division 2 tournament now heads to Uruguay from March 21st to March 22. Home team Shujaa finished third overall behind Germany and the US of A. And football, Gor extend lead at the top of league standings. That's the Daily Nation this morning.
As far as football matters are concerned, remember at 8 a.m. this morning, Monday Blitz coming up. Dan Mutua and Fred Arocho will be in studio. Do stand by for that. Let's take a look at another paper, and that's the People Daily, which still talks about what's happening in ODM. Is this the new force uniting to oust Ruto from power? And they have images there of this ODM luminaries. Interestingly, they're still including James Orengo. I think he's the only old face in this new face of ODM.
Yes.
Yeah. So they have Winnie Odinga, Babu Owino, Edwin Sifuna, Caleb Amisi, and of course kuna mzee pale, James Orengo. Amejipositioned in a very interesting way, away from the other older generation of politicians. Yeah. Interestingly, Peter Anyang' Nyong'o has remained very quiet, or at least a bit not involved in this back and forth. But that's a story. The only other story on the front page of the People Daily, and these are the two stories we're going to be talking about. ODM's demand for deputy president slot sparks rift in coalition talks. So as the coalition between ODM and UDA continues to gain traction, now the big point of discussion or bone of contention will be the number 2 slot as we come to the elections of 2027. Who will be President William Ruto's running mate for the elections next year? This has elicited debate in the Mount Kenya region, with those people saying it has to be Kindiki. Now ODM says, hatukusema ati hatutaki, tunakuja. Yes. People Daily.
The Standard, the only story covered on the front page is Sifuna, and that crowd, that big crowd, the huge crowd.
Sifuna
that was there. Sifuna, that huge crowd that was there at Kitengela. Sifuna roars. That's the headline on the front page of the Standard. Last kicks. The internal fracture in ODM, pitting interim leader Oburu Oginga against Secretary General Edwin Sifuna, played out in political rallies as the embattled SG yesterday drew humongous numbers in Kitengela, Kajiado, a sight that would excite even seasoned politicians. Now, 400 kilometers away at the coast, which is considered an ODM stronghold, Oburu was surrounded by a paltry crowd, leaving questions as to which side carries the true spirit of ODM, partly known for populism and crowd pulling. That's the only story on the front page of the Standard.
All right. You guys it again to Waksha.
Yeah, let's take a look at the Business Daily. I thought you wanted to...
Tunaambiwa tuko na back page.
Okay.
Tuko na back page of the Standard. What do we have on the back page? So they've drawn a comparison between what happened in Kitengela, and the back page is Oburu team limps. It's also the kind of comparison we've seen on the front page of Taifa Leo.
Yes.
So they show you what happened in Tononoka, what happened in Kitengela.
Yes.
So it's up to you to judge. I don't know why the editors have decided to do this. I feel like the media is also fueling this. Like, hii ndio ilikuwa Tononoka, hii ndio ilikuwa Kitengela. We angalia, jiangalia.
Amua. Sisi tunakuonyesha tu what happened. So you choose.
Alafu kuna mtu anauliza mbona Oburu ndo amewekwa back page.
All right, Business Daily. State in race against time to meet KPC's IPO sale target. The Treasury is betting on last-minute dash to raise 106.3 billion shillings from the sale of stake in Kenya Pipeline Company before the deadline on Thursday, as the initial public offering struggles to meet targets. Now, multiple top stockbrokers and investment banks reckon they have struggled to sell the state-owned pipeline company, especially among high-net-worth investors who have expressed interest but have failed to make payments for the shares. The 4 remaining days ahead of closure of the sale are therefore crucial for the success of what will be East Africa's biggest IPO in local currency terms. 4 of the top brokers who sought anonymity for fear of state reprisals said about 10% or nearly 11 billion shillings of the offer had been sold as the close of business on Thursday amid a split on the valuation of KPC. This is a very interesting story. It's a story on page 2.
All right.
NSE stocks make biggest one-week gain of ever at 220 billion shillings. On the ticker, US firm gets ultimatum on Nairobi-Mombasa Expressway project. IFS, that is International Finance Corporation, to buy 645 million shilling stake in e-motorbike company Arkride. And finally, CBK sees diaspora remittances sharing or reaching 676 billion shillings this year. That's the Business Daily.
Right, let's take a look at the cartoons this morning, and of course quite a number talking about what's happening in ODM. The most obvious one on the Star has 2 groupings within the UDA ODM, the ODM fraternity. And that's what I was asking, is the media fueling this feud? Because they're insisting on the 2 sides of ODM. So they have 2 groupings, one Sifuna here with the SG seat, the court on his side, James Orengo, Winnie Odinga, and half an orange on one side, including Babu Owino. On the other side, we have the other group, Junet Mohammed, Oburu Oginga, the chairperson Gladys Wanga, Abdul Swamad Ahmed Nasir, and the other half. Alafu bado jamaa anasema, I am still the Sifuna. Mimi ndio Sifuna.
All right, the cartoon on the Standard, 1990s Young Turks. James, this is the Standard.
Yes.
James Orengo caricatured on one side and Babu Owino on another side. 2026, Spirit revived. Spirit of the Young Turks. James Orengo was Spirit.
He was there in the 90s, still there 36 years later. Still bado ako juu ya magari.
Going strong.
On the cartoon of the People Daily, kuna safina hapa, there's an ark ile ya Noah. But sasa si Noah, ni the former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua with his crown. Amefungua mlango, anasema opening soon. Anaita wote opposition rebels. So opposition rebels ni nani? Opposition rebels ama ODM rebels? Opposition rebels are being welcomed to the ark by deputy president. That's a caricature on the People Daily.
Finally, the one on the Daily Nation, right? Let's talk in 2027. Oburu Odinga is on the middle of a table. Nyuma kuna one term, there's two term. So will he sign one term? Will he join the one term bandwagon or the two term?
Yes. Remember last week that meeting, it was a chance meeting at the funeral of Mudhama's son.
Yes.
Where he just bumped into Kalonzo Musyoka there and the former deputy president.
Yes.
Watu wakasema mambo mengi, ilikuwa tu a chance meeting, watu wameenda mazishi.
Walipatana tu.
Si ati walikuwa wamepanga. All right. So let's those are the cartoons, and these are some of the discussions we'll be having with my panelists this morning. And let me just tell you who we'll be having in studio. Samuel Pogisio, who was a majority leader in the 12th Parliament in the Senate. He's also served as cabinet minister in the Kibaki administration. He'll be here alongside Wakili Joshua Nyamori and political analyst Ikua Wambote. Do stand by for that. Coming your way in a few minutes' time. Before that, let's take a look at the traffic situation this morning in and around Nairobi. Watu wanarudi kazi after a lot has happened over the weekend with the rallies in Kitengela and elsewhere, as well as Valentine's travel. People travel. Wale wenye walikuwa wanatumia mabasi sio kama wale wanatumia ndege.
I see where you're going.
All right, so the traffic situation, I can already see there's some snarl up there. The Pangani interchange is building up nicely in Kawaida, and it's already stretching on Thika Road back to the Mathare Mental Hospital and deep into that Utali drift, meaning that it'll take you longer. But that's not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem on Thika Road is this. Look at this entire stretch from Kahawa Sukari all the way to the Garden City Mall. Stretches of red and yellow, meaning there's a lot of traffic all the way from Ruiru to the Garden City Mall. So if you're using Thika Road, if at all you can avoid this, maybe by using the bypasses, Eastern or Northern bypass, it will help you. For now, there's a lot of traffic on Thika Superhighway. The other major tributaries into town are looking busy. Jogoo Road around Makadara, as you get closer to that Likoni Road roundabout, it's building up slowly. After that, interestingly, it's smoother once you get Shauri Moyo, Machakos bus station and into the CBD. It's not so bad if you're using that. Mombasa Road, I can see the expressway is looking green, but pale ukifika Ole Sereni, kuna stretch ya red pale chini. Under the interchange, kunajua kunakuwa na first floor na ile ground floor. Ground floor ya Mombasa Road, kuna a bit of traffic around Ole Sereni pale South C. Kidogo tu, just then after that it's smooth into the CBD. Outer Ring Road, further Tasia, a bit of traffic there. Even the Eastern bypass, I can see there's traffic. Okay, hatujaiangalia upande hii. Utawala, the entire stretch of Utawala all the way from Benedicta mpaka umalize Utawala ufike kule kwa majeshi. There's an entire stretch. And remember, it's a dual carriageway. Sielewi kuna nini traffic hapo. This is as you head towards the airport on Utawala. The other major tributaries into town, Wayaki Way all the way into the CBD is looking green. And Southern bypass, not so bad. So shida mingi ko Thika Road this morning. Yeah, Thika Road, poleni. All the way from KU mpaka Garden City Mall.
And that's 30 minutes for 6 a.m. All right, we already see your feedback online, and thank you so much for waking up with us this early. Steady Mnare anasema Mnare watching live from Ndori yuko huko Nyanza. Charles Kafu pamoja sana Karatina. Stephen Kosira, morning Kenya, watching the show from the great county of Narok, home to the phenomenal Masai Mara. Advisor Pastor Emmanuel Barasa Manu, good morning. Kitengela well represented. Nafuatilia show jana Tiagas we. Tell us about it.
Yes. Vumbi alafu ongeza
yes.
Ladies sana.
Lameki Bakari, Karen pamoja sana. Mike Yaramuk, Sifuna is a movement where tear gas is where real ODM is. Cyrus Gishuhi, sisi ndio Sifuna. Advisor Pastor Emmanuel Barasa anasema ODM luwere. Luwere.
That's a question we asked this morning. Yeah? Ashajibu.
Freddy Dreadlocks Pa anasema sisi ndio Sifuna. Asante sana for waking up. Interact with us on our socials. TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, on X at TV47 Digital. You can tag us. My handle is at @Odida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe TV47.
My handle on X is at Fred Ndimuli. See you after the break.
Peel citrus fruits without the mess. There's only one downside to eating an orange, the tedious task of peeling it. To avoid the mess and frustration, roll citrus fruits and or microwave them for a minute for easy peeling. Just be careful not to burn yourself.
Before fainting, it's common to experience some of the following symptoms: dizziness, lightheadedness, sweating.
Did you know that the term Big Five began as a way of referring to the 5 most difficult animals to hunt on foot? The lion, leopard, rhino, elephant and buffalo were the 5 large African mammal species that were known to hunters as dangerous, and successfully hunting them was considered an accomplishment.
When someone chokes, advise them to cough. And if this is not effective, bend them forward and give them about 5 back blows to try and clear the blockage. And if they're still choking, give them up to 5 tummy pushes by holding them around the waist and pushing inwards and upwards above their belly button. If they are still choking, call for medical assistance.
Did you know that an elephant's trunk is actually a long nose? Elephants use it for smelling, breathing, trumpeting, drinking, and also for grabbing things, especially a potential meal. Did you know that a lion has the loudest roar of all big cats? It is so loud it can reach 114 decibels and can be heard from as far as 8 kilometers away.
Peel citrus fruits without the mess. There's only one downside to eating an orange, the tedious task of peeling it. To avoid the mess and frustration, roll citrus fruits and or microwave them for a minute for easy peeling. Just be careful not to burn yourself.
All right, good morning once again and welcome back. This is the Morning Cafe on TV 47. My name is Freddy Ndemuli. Time for us to take a look at the dailies. And of course, the dailies today, one name roars through, and okay, fine. I'm using the same words that I'm seeing here on the standard, Sifuna roars. Is the name Sifuna that cuts across most of the dailies today. Fine, of course, with what's happening in ODM. So the standard, Sifuna roars. Daily Nation, Orange Showdown Pale Juu. Of course, they're talking about matters drought and starving amid plenty. But matters ODM and what's happening with Sifuna on the front page of the Daily Nation. People Daily, is this the new force uniting to oust Ruto from power? With Sifuna once again there on the front page, alongside Winnie Odinga, Babu Owino, Caleb Amisi and James Orengo. Kimeumana ODM, Taifa Leo. Habari kuu pale na Sifuna bado pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele, alafu magazeti mengine pia yanazungumzia habari ile ile. Sifuna, Sifuna, Sifuna. Nifuna, Sifuna. This morning we're privileged to have with us Wakili Joshua Nyamori. Karibu sana.
Good morning.
And also Ikwa Wambota, political analyst.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante, Fred.
This conversation is what we're going to start with. Sifuna's position, is it a new movement, and what does it mean for ODM? Let's listen to what this Secretary General of ODM, because at least according to the court's pronouncement, he is still Secretary General, what he had to say yesterday at that rally in Kitengela.
Simama hapa Kitengela tarehe 15 mwezi wa pili mwaka 2026 nikiwa bado katibu mkuu wa chama cha ODM.
Wakili, there are those who insist, and we had this in Mombasa, that the party insists the new Secretary General is Catherine Omanyo. Yet the court has pronounced itself, albeit temporarily, up until it comes and makes another pronouncement that Sifuna remains the SG of the ODM party. From a legal standpoint, who should we listen to? Who is the SG?
You know, this is a very interesting scenario in which we have a court pronouncement, and then we have what I would call the lived experience, the reality on the ground. You know, parties are constitutional bodies. Kenya is a multi-party democracy, and therefore parties are allowed to form, to caucus, but they do it within the context of a constitution, within the context of the existing Political Parties Act and other laws. And that then requires that parties must operate within the ambits of their organs. And what then that means is that political party decisions can only be made by political parties. Courts cannot take that role. And so in my view, so long as the structures of the party are still united in certain positions, Sifuna is definitely going to lose this battle in the long run.
My question was, really, as it stands right now.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes.
If you are asking who to listen to, then you should ask yourself, where is the institution? When I look at the two entities, in Kitengela, I saw, a number of young people from different entities. Okay, some in ODM, in DCP, in various, some supporting Matiang'i, coming together. In Mombasa, Tononoka, I saw members of the Central Committee, a neck of ODM speaking to their members. Okay, so if you want to know what ODM is saying, then please listen to the Mombasa speeches. But because they emanate from decisions that have been made in party organs. But if you want to listen to noise in the streets, then probably you could listen to the Kitengela, group, because they are conglomeration of various voices. In my view, then a cacophony that might not be coherent in its position, political party position.
What would happen in this instance? Because we understand the court pronouncement is expected sometime February 26th?
Yes.
And then the NDC of the party comes a day or two after that. What if the court declares that Sifuna is still SG and then immediately after that, even a week after that, there's an NDC. What would that mean?
You know, what we must appreciate is that the parties cannot take over the role of political party organs. The parties would just be test whether procedures have been followed.
The courts, yeah.
Okay, and you know, sanction bodies to follow procedures. And so my view is that the farthest the court process can go is probably to order certain procedure to be done again, or to, you know, if the party feels that there is a procedure that was never followed, but then decides that despite that, party organs have made decisions, they would then give the ousted, you know, SG as safe landing, probably damages or something. Mm-hmm. But court cannot force, you know, a democratic institution that has its procedures and processes to, you know, continue to work with an SG that the organs of the party decide to throw out.
It is definitely a matter to be decided by the party. And
it's a matter to be decided by the party.
One of those organs that makes such decisions is the NDC.
Exactly. You know, the procedures that, you know, Sifuna and his group may invoke is at the judicial review of procedures, beyond the clarification within the political party's tribunal. And then the clear principles is that courts do not take over decision making. Yes. Courts can only test and determine whether procedures have been followed, whether there is fair administration of justice under Article 47, and whether the decisions are valid in accordance with the law.
Yes.
Yeah.
Either way, it sets us up for a very interesting NDC of the ODM party, whenever that will happen, whether Sifuna will still be SG. He's still a member of ODM party, and that will be very interesting. But Bonaikua, now the discussion has moved from just an issue of wrangling between two factions of ODM party. It is now about Sifuna and his rise in Kenyan politics, and the fact that the chants we've seen, the kind of crowd we saw in Kitengela yesterday, even we have clips of people chanting Sifuna's name at the rugby tournament, which was not a political event, and Sifuna was not present at all, but we had those chants at the rugby event. And the question is this slowly turning out into a different movement?
Thank you, Fred, and once again, thank you for having me this morning. You know, I think we cannot be able to explain what could be happening right now with the Sisindio Sifuna, you know, trending without necessarily, you know, looking at reasons why and how we got ourselves there. First and foremost, Edwin Sifuna has been pronouncing himself in regard to his stance as far as the broad-based government is concerned for the longest. So if you look at the chants that came out of a rugby tournament, and if you look at what happened in Kitengela yesterday, it is only someone who does not live in Kenya who would want to ignore the fact that now this is starting to be a movement, because basically Sifuna is talking the language of the people. You know, I keep on reminding many people, especially those who are holding positions in political parties, that a political party is as big as the people following it. Anybody who seeks to be elected in any position whatsoever, you are as good as people who believes in you. Numbers here comes into play from morning to evening, and there's no any other way of explaining who you want to become if you do not look at the people who are following you and the numbers that you're going to attract. And if you look at Sifuna right now, he may not be having the biggest part of the, you know, the organs, what do they are calling the organs of the party as far as ODM is concerned. But the few he has the people. And if you look at even how they have coined their individual appearance on the ground, the two sides of the divide of the ODM, you would find that one is saying is in the ground, because they thought the ground is what they need. But Sifuna and his team quickly coined leader Mwananchi. So Mwananchi turned up yesterday. So he may not have had, Wakili have tried to explain, he may not have had the Central Committee and the likes with him yesterday, but he had the people. Because you saw everybody was headed to Kitengela. And people, in fact, if it was not that important, If it didn't send a message, why throw tear gas? Why didn't we see tear gas yesterday being thrown in Mombasa, where the other team was? These are the things that are making Kenyans extremely annoyed. And that is where the support is coming from. The support is coming from the fact that the team that is being led by Sifuna is talking the language that the people want to hear in terms of putting the government in check and calling things out. So that is exactly why you are seeing Sifuna attracting people that would rather be regarded as non-ODM. But when you are going to a presidency, when you're going into an election, it's not about the people who are in ODM or people who are not in ODM. It's about us, all of us as Kenyans, and where we want to go.
Wakili, over the last 2-3 years, has been a very unique and probably something untested that has happened in Kenya. That's the Gen Z factor in Kenyan politics. You saw the kind of awakening in 2024 and in 2025. And then it died down. And many people still do not understand how this will factor into next year's election because they're not even registering as voters. It would appear that this weekend they appear to have been excited somewhat with this new political feeling. Do you think that finally the young Kenyans have something they can ride on? The chance of Sisi Ndio Sifuna. Do you think that is the direction it's taking now?
I'd want to, discourage you from getting excited about what you may have seen in Kitengela, because it's not the first time we have seen exciting crowds. And you see, crowds are manufactured. What I mean that crowds are manufactured, crowds depend on the, what is exciting in the moment. Crowds depend on the spectacle that is created. Crowds depend on the level of mobilization and the type of mobilization. And this is from, from history. Okay, if you, for instance, read Julius Caesar, you will read about the Brutus crowd. When the conspirators come out and start speaking, the entire crowd in Rome was behind them. And then immediately, Mark Antony takes over the platform, and then the crowd shifts. So crowd, I'll keep telling people, is like wildfire on a windy afternoon. Okay, like wild bushfire. It depends on which side the wind will blow. Basically, what I'm telling you is that we will continue to see these spectacles. Okay?
And it will not
but these spectacles don't decide elections. Elections, we are a multi-party democracy. The question then that you should ask yourself is which part of the crowd, or rather which part of the group, has control of institutional structures, has the capability to roll out electoral machines. In my view, a number of these Gen Z spectacle then dissipate, and the Gen Z find themselves in the various groups that we have, because the Gen Z still lack the institutional and organizational capability, capable of turning spectacle in the streets into votes and turning out those votes on election day. While least organized political parties that have representation across the 40,000 polling centers across the countries have the capability of doing that. So I don't think that the Gen Z spectacle will turn into a big phenomenon.
Yet it was the biggest scare for all politicians, and this is across board. The fact that this Gen Z is unpredictable, they didn't know which direction they would go. Even for the United Opposition, they still haven't been able to capture the psyche of the Gen Z. Do you agree with Wakili that there's nothing to worry, especially for the political class, when they see someone seemingly appear to excite that group?
Absolutely not. And I hope Wakili is not serious. Because if he was serious, he would have known that there's nothing in optics in terms of numbers that you can pull. Because how do you pull numbers if they're not interested in what you're saying? Right? People, this is politics we're talking about here. People come to listen to you because they like and they are admired and they are being pulled towards you by what it is that you are saying. And that is what eventually amounts into votes. Now, look at what happened with Gen Zs. That particular movement sent a very big message to this country. It was the first time that we saw the things that we saw. Because even in the 1990s, when the multi-party, youths were fighting for the multi-party, they didn't do what these Gen Zs managed to do. These people are in their own time, their own times of even how they communicate and how they mobilize. They are shaping narratives every day. If they are following up on something, you know that they have even made a president to come and revert some of the things that they have done. They are not seemingly powerful, as the Wakiri would want to, to kind of categorize them. These are serious people. And by the way, most of them belong to the section of Kenyans that never used to vote. Remember, even in the last election, over 8 million people never showed up to vote. Who are they? Who are the people that never used to come out to vote? Now, they have seen something in Sifuna that they are interested in. And you saw they were actually the one who are mobilizing on Twitter. And they are the ones that are wearing the t-shirts of CCD or Sifuna. If that does not worry the ODM on the other side, I don't know what needs to worry them. Because apparently they would even go further from power. Watch the size when I say we need power. You will not get it if you're not going to be able to pull these kind of people to your side.
Yes.
Because remember in my previous comment in regards to the numbers, if anybody would want to win the next election, then you need to count those 8 million people and give them a reason to come and vote. Because it's like they never had any reason to come and vote. And if Sifuna is what they'll be following, worry where he will go.
Do you think that the media is overplaying this? Because if you look at the papers today, they draw comparisons. On the front page of the Star, we have, okay, fine, the front page of the Star just has what happened in Kitengela. But you look at Taifa Leo, they've drawn a comparison between the ODM rally in Tononoka, Mombasa, and the one in Kitengela. And the crowds, okay, it's been left to the readers to decide which is a huge crowd. They don't say which one it is. On the front page of Daily Nation, there on the top strip, they have what is happening in Kitengela and what happened in Tononoka with just the leadership there. Now the Standard has done 2 pages, front page and back page. On the front page, Sifuna roars. On the back page, ODM deemed. Do you think the media is overplaying this, or is just the reality that in as far as perception is concerned, the bigger your crowd, you're the winner?
You know, Kenyan media, just like any other media across the world, has its agenda. And, the agenda of the media depends on, the ownership of the media, the target group, who the advertisers are, and so many other things. And, the political interests that they may be serving. And, looking at some of this, I was looking at the headlines in the morning, for instance, the Standard headline, and looking at the headlines they have carried, the alarmist headlines they have carried. Clearly, they're pushing a narrative. And you see, as they say that, they're not answering who was in Kitengela, okay? Who was in Tononoka, okay? The question is, are the crowds that have been mobilized into a spectacle capable of making decisions within political parties? Are they able to turn into votes? And I keep warning people, don't, in the height of the Gen Z protests, I remember telling certain young people that if you guys are not careful and don't get into these institutions, you will be left out in the streets. And indeed, when, the big boys then sat down to agree on how to share power, the Gen Z were not on that table. And these are the same Gen Z that, mobilizing them into a spectacle is very important. So somebody decides to, I'm told they call it form, to have a form in Diani. and all of them take the SGR into Diani. Then another day, the president's son has launching a matatu, just a single matatu, and mobilizes on social media. And they are all it found me in the CBD, and I thought there was riots. When I went there, they were celebrating a single matatu being mobilized. So it is an interesting thing. It is interesting to be young. I was once at that stage. They have the advantage that, they have this social media. But unless it is turned into institutions, and they are able to make decisions within institutions, and they are able to then turn the crowds into votes, and these votes are turned into the ballot box, this thing will always dissipate.
But don't you think that if anyone manages to capture that and convert it into votes, that will actually be a game changer?
It doesn't just happen as easily as that. You know, the young people that you saw with the one old man, Orengo, in Kitengela will have capability. There is always a desire, but then the question is, do they have the capability?
Okay.
Politics is expensive. It takes resources. It takes structures. It takes institutions. Do they have that? They don't have that. For instance, I keep telling people that Orengo can make a lot of noise in the streets of Kitengela, but most likely he's losing elections in Siaya.
Talking about Orengo,
yes.
He's been there before. He's one of those, back in the 90s, the young tax.
Yeah.
We saw him on top of vehicles. He's definitely a politician who has experience. He's seen something in these young people. Can we really dismiss a politician of such stature?
Orengo is not reading the time. Orengo is a governor. Is not an activist anymore, okay? He has certain responsibilities upon which the Siaya people will measure him. They will not measure him depending on the noise he has made at Kitengela. They will measure him in terms of the roads he has built, the hospitals he has put up, the services to the people in terms of sewerage and the support to agriculture. So my view is that that cannot help Orengo in Siaya. In fact, you realize that the entire county assembly is pulling on a different line. Mm-hmm. You saw them, the entire assembly visiting the president in Eldoret. That tells you that Orengo is not sitting pretty. Probably by appearing in these Gen Z, forums, wanting to explain the difficulties that he's experiencing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd want to comment on the position that James Orengo currently is holding there. In this new grouping, he, as he said, is the only old man in this group, and we'll be taking a look at your feedback. What do you think Orengo has seen in this group?
Well, why would I want to ignore what Orengo has seen? What an old man can see seated down, a young boy cannot even see on top of a tree. It is like just trying to ignore your father when he's giving you a counsel, just because your father is giving you a counsel that you do not like as a young man. I am very happy for Orengo being part and parcel of this group, because obviously there is something he can tell them that they would not have seen it from the same perspective. And when I listen to Akiri even claiming that Orengo doesn't have a proper following on his ground because his MCAs visited the president in Eldoret, we know why people these days are visiting the president. It has become more lucrative than even asking for allowances within the county. So people are visiting the president for completely different reasons altogether. Mm-hmm. But I need to say something. Sifuna and his team are lucky to have Orengo on their side, because I would imagine if they didn't. And if we are talking about old man, because I've heard Wakili describe Orengo as an old man, in terms of energy, who has more energy between Orengo and Dr. Oburu? Mm-hmm. So in terms of even explaining anything that people can understand what you are saying, who can you even listen to? So we are not supposed to talk about old here, in terms of that. If we want to go that direction, then we'll even be able to know that the other divide has more problems than the ones that Sifuna is enjoying. Mm-hmm. I mean, Sifuna is enjoying somebody who can actually sit them down and tell them something, clearly, and they listen. Somebody we can give a microphone and talk without being whispered through on the side to be reminded what they were supposed to say. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is very dangerous. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that, Wakiri, please, let Orengo be able to give these young people, like when you are old, the best thing you can do is to share with the young people what you have, so that in the time in which you are exiting the stage, you have already shared your experiences and you have been able to guide the people, show them. But I need to answer something that he said earlier in regards to optics and perception thereof. I mean, Fred, you are aware that as much as we would want to accuse the media of trying to actually put the optics of what happened here and there in terms of crowd comparison, that is what directs or dictates the perception of politics. Mm-hmm. Right now, the perception of the entire country is that the entire people of ODM are with Edwin Sifuna and his group. Why? Because of the same optics you're talking about.
Exactly.
I mean, and this is a game of perception. And the moment is going to win that the people of ODM are with Sifuna and his group, then the other side will be left with nothing,
and that's a
other than themselves.
That's a question we're asking online. My colleague Anne is on standby. Anne, what are the people saying about the question we're asking today with regard to what's happening in the ODM party?
All right, Sifuna ouster, end of ODM, yes or no? Let's see what our viewers are saying this morning. Umejuaje nimesha kanasema sisi ndio Sifuna. Kevin Wanjala, Uhuru Financials. Pascal Waluya waunde chama yao. Pascal. Kevin Ligolo, ODM ni chama ya Wajaluo, Kitengela is not ODM home turf. Dagi Blessing, sisi ndio Sifuna. Sean Slight Kale, mimi naitwa Sifuna. Sarah Vincent, but ODM died the moment Amolo was lowered to the grave. Everyone is just pulling for survival. Kennedy Wambia, your prayer, 2027 is done, 2-term. Victor Tanui, ODM rested with Baba. Vini Kinyanjui anasema ODM went with Baba. Mburu Shege, as one of founder members of ODM, Ruto swore to discipline Sifuna for refusing to sell the party to him. And there is a video to that effect. Oburu and Kahuts received initial down payment. ODM is dead and buried. We have some more. So Fred, we can see the constant feedback here is ODM is dead. I wonder if Wakili Nyamori would agree with that. Is your ODM dead, yes or no?
You know, ODM would be dead if its structures and institutional systems are not working. In my view, the institutional structures of the party are functioning well and are able to sit and make decisions. And so I see ODM at the moment where it is clarifying its positions, considering the fact that they just went through a very traumatic experience, losing their charismatic leader who has led the party since its formation and who was a national hero. Therefore, at that moment, the party had then to get to a point where it clarifies that we still hold these positions or we are changing positions. And that starts with, you know, the organs of the party. The Central Committee then sat down and chose, identified Honorable Buru, who was then also, you know, elected by NEC. And that when they met in Mombasa with the governing council, that was then adopted. And they are moving around, you know, assuring the membership of the position that the party holds. Definitely at such moments, there is always possibility of certain minorities pulling out towards different directions and joining up with opponents of the party to try and destabilize the ship. My view is that ultimately, at the end of the noise and the spectacle and the excitement and the emotions, the institutions hold.
How many parties in Kenya? How many parties in Kenya have gone through what ODM is going through and survived? Because we've seen from KANU, Ford Kenya, all these parties that have had a very charismatic big leader, that after their exit and the kind of fractions that appear after that, it is a dim or a pale shadow of its former self.
Indeed, ODM is at that moment that I would say that it is facing an existential threat. Okay? And when facing an existential threat because Raila was a big institution within ODM. And that in his absence, it is possible if ODM does not strengthen its institutions, that the institutions can then collapse. How are the institutions then, you know, clarified and strengthened? Institutions are clarified by ensuring that the organs of the party function, that the law, the constitution of the party, and the rules are followed. And that, you know, everybody is given an opportunity to express themselves, and then decisions are made democratically so that the minority can have their say, the majority will have their way. And I think looking at what I have seen in ODM so far, that is exactly what have been happening. They have been able to, you know, establish a new leadership to take over from Raila Odinga I believe that Oburu is a transitional leader, is a steward to enable the party clarify its long-term, existence.
So you do agree that for its long-term survival, Oburu Odinga may not necessarily be the leader to take them there?
Definitely, we cannot say that Honorable Oburu will lead the party for the next 30 years, okay? But then it was important during this period that somebody who has spent a lot of time with Raila Odinga, I grew up in ODM, although I left ODM at some point. And I keep telling people that I knew that Raila Odinga would take advice from various people, but ultimately the person he will go to for the last advice would be Honorable Oburu Odinga. Okay. And most of the time it is what Honorable Oburu Odinga tells him that he would follow. So Honorable Oburu Odinga was the brain box, while this Raila was the warrior. Okay. And that, being a self-effacing person, then a number of people, do not realize that he's very revolutionary in his thoughts. And my view that in such a process of transition from such a strong leader, they needed somebody who understands his philosophy and has been with him for a very long time. And that has happened in other revolutionary movements. Look at what happened when Fidel Castro's brother took over. And so my view is that ultimately, it is what Honorable Oburu is doing that will save ODM, rather than, minorities within the party joining up with people from other parties and mobilizing chaos in a bid to push their personal interest to take over from the positions of the...
But it's the timing of this crisis that probably will change the game for ODM. Elections in the next 18 months, a possible coalition with the UDA, that whose a lot of the agenda is yet to be confirmed. Of course, there's a debate about the running mate position and all that. Yes. A lot of the feeling and feedback we have is that this is the end of ODM.
Yeah.
Do you agree that, yes, as he says, it's facing an existential crisis or an existential threat, but according to everyone else, it's worse than that?
Yeah, it is actually worse than that. I can tell you this is a euthanasia case. This is what you call mercy, death, slow death of ODM. It's going to happen. First and foremost, the biggest mistake they did was to replace Baba with Oburu. And I agree with him, he could have been the brain box behind Baba. But of course, you never promote anybody to their incompetence level. Never. If you want to build a party like ODM and keep its existence alive, you should have taken somebody with the same vigor, with the same kind of power, with the same kind of warrior that Wakili is explained to us with Baba. It's match for a match. That's what they should have done. They had an opportunity as a party to actually ensure that there are not two functions. They had an opportunity to go back and, compromise here and there and ensure that what exactly do we need? Do we need to remain as a party? Do we need to divide it? But self-interest and personal interest came first. For most of them who want to go with the government, is purely because of the self-interest. Look at it this way. The other day, Oburu said that the position of the deputy president is what they are going for. Would you imagine now what would happen? I mean, Fred, it doesn't require you to be, a local scientist to know that will be another, bro in terms of the coalition they are looking into forming. Because assuming that they are going to actually dethrone the deputy president, his position, what's going to happen? With the smallest of support that is remaining within the mountain and its environs, what's going to happen in terms of trusting that this particular person is still going to keep the promise that he's going to give ODM? Yes. Now that he cannot keep the one for Gachagua, he cannot keep the one for, Kindiki, he will not even keep theirs. Okay. I can tell you, we are watching them and realizing that they do not even know what they are going to. If somebody actually roasted your brother, you cannot trust them with yourself. If you lose your finger in a guillotine, please be careful, you can lose your head in the same. I mean, they told us in one of their meetings that actually the problem with Uhuru Kenyatta is because he promised that he's going to make Raila the president, right? He said that, Oburu. He said that, and actually he watched as the seat was being taken. By who? Who is the current president? And are you telling me that you are now trusting the thief? the one who took your seat? I mean, it's pure confusion, Freddie. And I can tell you, all I'm seeing a party that never took time to sit down as the organs of the party we are being told. Never took time to sit down. Did we even listen to Edwin Sifuna during Baba's burial? That he said that for this time, we will come to you, the people, and you will tell us what you want with your own party. That was a very strong message because the people took it serious. And that is why the people are following Sifuna, because Sifuna is asking them. And Sifuna have not even declared himself as supporting whoever it is in terms of presidential candidate, the alignment in the opposition. No, he's still Katibu Mkuu wa Chama cha ODM, as he's calling himself even yesterday. He is saying he is in ODM. And
Wakili, as we continue drawing the comparisons between these two groupings within ODM, because that's what we have been drawn to by the newspapers, there's a clarity of thought and expression that Sifuna is known for on one hand, and now there's the other side and how they're communicating through their party leader, Oburu Oginga. One, he said they're not going for the DP's position. He said it in a public platform, and that sent a message out there. Then he comes and says he was misquoted, and now the party is definitely going for that position. That speaks a lot. This lack of clarity, confused communication, definitely that's going to impact on ODM, even as they negotiate for the coalition.
You know, Buru is a party leader, and as I told you, it is a party going through a transition. It's a party trying to clarify its position. It's a party trying to recalibrate. It's a party listening to itself. It's a party listening to the ground. So it is not strange that the party leader, at various moments, would, you know, take positions that keep evolving, because we are in an evolving situation. And that being a democratic entity, at every particular moment, the various groups in various organs of the party would have various positions. And I think Honorable Buru has made it clear that, you know, he will always hear and let people speak their mind. About the position, the issue of the deputy presidency or the running mate position, I think ultimately we have not seen the structure, the face and the shape that the coalition will take, and whether it will just be ODM and UDA or whether other parties may join. Kenya's politics is a very dynamic field that keep evolving. And I think that what will ultimately guide the coalition in terms of the decision it will make on its presidential candidate and its running mate and the various positions that they can be able to offer to each other will be what would be the winning formula and what wins. I think that in Professor Kindiki we have a very strong deputy president. And if anybody doubted that, they should have listened to Professor Kindiki speak during the UDA aspirants meeting, in which he was able to, you know, bring out the manifesto of the party and the scorecard of the party over the last 3 years in a very eloquent and a deep manner, and having numbers and figures and data at his fingertips. And we have had, you know, the UDA brigade also express themselves. So in a situation in which we are in which we have, you know, two partners trying to come together, and every partner expressing its interest, you can be sure that positions will keep changing. And I believe that they will settle for the most enduring and
what impact do you think it would have? But if at all ODM were to demand for the running mate position and say that is a bare minimum?
I don't think that ODM can insist on a position if that position is not helping it. Okay, ODM is the question is, what do the membership of ODM need? I think the membership of ODM need continuity. The membership of ODM need to be in government. The membership of ODM need the government to respond to their development needs.
As an equal partner in a coalition, and even the chairperson has already indicated that it will be half the cow. You split it into two and they take this side, the other take the other side. In the nature of our presidential ticket, it is you take one, we take the other.
Equal partnership does not mean that you take the presidency and the deputy presidency. That is not equal partnership. It means that the essence of coalition is that you contribute your strengths. And in contributing your strengths, then you are able to benefit from the output.
Post-2010...
In my view, are you able to allow me to finish?
No. Post-2010,
yes,
we've seen coalitions.
Yes.
And in every coalition, perhaps the best example would be the Jubilee Alliance, where two parties came together to form a coalition. And they split those two positions. You take the presidency, I take the running mate position.
Yeah, but then that worked. President William Ruto then presented the best option for the coalition to have as the deputy president, in my own view. Okay, in my own view, you do not fix it unless it is broken, and I see a very strong deputy president. And a deputy president that just proved himself. When he was told that he could not pull numbers, he proved himself during the Mbere by-election. At the same time, he has earned respect across the board. For me, the best scenario is that President William Ruto will still run with Professor Kindiki as the deputy. ODM, because of its contribution, will be able to get, decent representation within the cabinet. Decent representation within the cabinet and within the other organs of the party, and that in the manifesto of the coalition, they will be able to commit to certain projects that will respond to development needs of the members of ODM in their strongholds. My view is that will work, especially because ODM is still at that moment when it is clarifying itself, and that out of it, they have an opportunity working with President William Ruto to give their membership an opportunity to go through a period in which ultimately probably at 2032, they will have somebody who can run for presidency or could run for...
But listening to you, ODM is a party that has fielded a presidential candidate.
Yes.
The last 5 or so elections.
Yes.
But listening to you, you seem to look at ODM as the small brother in this coalition.
No, not at all.
Coalition deal.
No.
That probably they are not at par with UDA. They do not deserve a position in the presidential ticket. They are not there yet. They are recovering. So let them recover, get some strength, then probably in 2032 you can get there. But for now, you are the small brother.
What
you're saying?
What you're trying to do is to diminish the traumatic experience that ODM just went through, and that inform, what may appear as a crisis at this moment, and that, then requires that it clarifies and recalibrates. ODM just lost Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga is not your ordinary politician. Raila Odinga was a national hero. Raila Odinga was, the leader that pulled ODM and its crowd together. The party, in my view, if I was an advisor to the party, I'm not. If I was an advisor to the party, I would then advise the membership and the organs of the party that it is important. And that is why I think that the leadership of Honorable Buru is important, that they use the stewardship of Honorable Buru and they use the partnership with the UDA party and government to be able to work within this broad-based government and in 2012, to be able to get position in which they could then get their membership, including young people within the party, to get into position that would enable them to recalibrate, but also to move around the country, to develop new partnerships, and to grow and demonstrate their capability so that in time, by the time the president is retiring, they have been able to clarify and identify another charismatic leader. It would be a lie, for instance, to tell ODM that the right time, they have reached that moment.
Even for a deputy president's position, they are not there yet.
No. I'm not saying they are not there yet. For me, that deputy president has not emerged that can challenge the stature, the capability, and the value that Professor Kindiki then brings to the table.
Let's see what our viewers feel about this discussion about the running mate's position and the coalition building between UDA and ODM. Listening to Wakili here, would that be the kind of thinking that ODM is going with to this coalition? And what are the people saying?
All right, so coalitions are meant to create positions for people, but do the people agree with that statement by Wakili Nyamori this morning? Gladson Obwamo, they are all after what fits their stomach. No one is genuine, just wait and you will see when the temperatures cool, all will return to their parents. So there's a comment there about this only filling their stomachs. Munene Eric, if there are people who understood and learned Baba's art of politics, are these two guys, Babu and Sifuna. James Orina, ODM died instantly the moment they touched Sifuna, Kwisha dead. Ronnie Ogina, Baba blessed Edwin Sifuna a long time ago. Nyota ya mtu wezi chukua hata kwa dawa. Super Senator is the young Baba we have been waiting for. We already have our Baba mdogo Sifuna. All right. So that's the feedback this morning. Is it really meant to create positions or spaces for other people, or are they just filling up their stomachs? All
right. Yes, that's a question to you, because people are feeling that, fine, as you go to a coalition, you better be negotiating for something worthwhile. Cabinet positions only, what Wakili calls decent representation?
No, there's no decent representation when you are promised cabinet positions. And first and foremost, you need to know, are you going in as an equal partner, or are you actually being employed? I think ODM need to learn one, the divide of the ODM that is actually negotiating with government. They need to first understand that for the past, how many elections you said? 4 elections or thereabout?
5.
That they have actually tried to go for the presidency. They haven't been able to capture it for one reason or the other, as they would explain it or as the reality would be. But you see now they're trying to take a shortcut by thinking that William Ruto is actually going to get them into government. That is why even Oburu is saying, we want power. Tunataka power. You cannot get power without the people. They are actually abandoning the people that they initially had. They only needed one partner on the other side, and they would have captured this government in the morning. Then this government, easy, because they had the people. They only short for they were foreign. They only needed a partner, just like William Ruto is looking for them. Why is the President William Ruto looking for ODM with all this vigor and trying as much as possible to ensure that they sign an agreement with him? He is the president. Why is he not comfortable that UDA alone would be able to win the next election? Because he understands the game. He understands what actually brings in that power. And if ODM is going to go to William Ruto and say, we don't want anything, we just want to support you, he is going to give them nothing. I do not believe, and I don't really believe that Wakili is serious when they say that they are not coming in to negotiate for a position. They are not going to take anything less, because how are they going to convince their people? The people that they actually come in within the government. Because remember, we started our conversation by saying, without numbers, you're not talking about anything about politics. I mean, it's a CMS twin. You separate them, they die. You cannot separate numbers and politics. And that amounts into a win. That is what we are discussing here. That is why we are saying the numbers we saw and the kind of support we are seeing Sifuna being accorded, he's a man to watch. Whatever side he's going to fall, that side is going to be a big threat as far as numbers of the next election is concerned. No matter how much you want to ignore him. It is at your own peril that you want to ignore him. You don't want to accept the fact that this man is actually going to take over from Baba. Because some people do not believe that he was the right person. Babu Owino has been almost been chased out of the party for saying from Baba to Babu or something like that. I think there's a kind of a saying that he was saying that because he was clearly declaring himself as the next party leader. He had even said that they want to go to an NDC so that he can also take off that position rightfully through an NDC. You know, that is the problem we have in ODM right now. Because some people do not believe that those young people can be able to take over. But as you can see, even people responding there, because you also need to listen to the likes of Ronnie or Gina. Those people probably are even ODM followers. We need to listen to them. When they are saying that this is the person that nyota ya baba iko wapi, wanasema nyota ya baba iko kwa vijana, because of the spirit. That is what Baba represented. And you cannot tell me that when Baba went, he left such a huge gap that we cannot even find a deputy president in that party. How can you even say that?
Definitely, they say palipo na moshi hapakosi moto. This debate has definitely elicited quite some reaction. It's drawn out even the deputy president to come out and comment about it. He's quoted there on the front page of Taifa Leo. Kindiki asema hatishwi na kelele za chura. Mjadala umezuka kuhusu hatma ya wadhifa wa Kindiki baada ya ODM kusema inataka kiti hicho mwaka ujao. We do have a clip where the deputy president is speaking about this. But let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll have what he said about his position as running mate to President William Ruto.
Peel citrus fruits without the mess. There's only one downside to eating an orange, the tedious task of peeling it. To avoid the mess and frustration, roll citrus fruits and/or microwave them for a minute for easy peeling. Just be careful not to burn yourself.
Before fainting, it's common to experience some of the following symptoms: dizziness, lightheadedness, sweating.
Did you know that the term Big Five began as a way of referring to the 5 most difficult animals to hunt on foot? The lion, leopard, rhino, elephant and buffalo were the 5 large African mammal species that were known to hunters as dangerous, and successfully hunting them was considered an accomplishment.
When someone chokes, advise them to cough. And if this is not effective, bend them forward and give them about 5 back blows to try and clear the blockage. And if they're still choking, give them up to 5 tummy pushes by holding them around the waist and pushing inwards and upwards above their belly button. If they are still choking, call for medical assistance.
Did you know that an elephant's trunk is actually a long nose? Elephants use it for smelling, breathing, trumpeting, drinking, and also for grabbing things, especially a potential meal. Did you know that a lion has the loudest roar of all big cats? It is so loud, it can reach 114 decibels and can be heard from as far as 8 kilometers away.
Peel citrus fruits without the mess. There's only one downside to eating an orange, the tedious task of peeling it. To avoid the mess and frustration,
ati nimesikia kuna watu wameleta wasiwasi huku. Ati wanasema iko maneno ya wasiwasi huku. Nyinyi nawauliza, si mnajua hii serikali mimi ndio namba 2 kwa hiyo serikali? Ni kweli si kweli? Ni kweli si kweli? Sasa nauliza, hao watu wanaongea kama utukunya na rukunyota mbakia nyoro. Mimi nataka niseme hivi watu wetu. Mimi nataka kuwaambia mrelax. Mimi nataka kuwaambia mfanye nini? Mfanye nini? Na musiletewe wasiwasi na mambo madogo. Yale watu wanaongea, watu wa siasa. Mimi ndio Deputy President wa Kenya. Na hii kiti hakuna mahali kinaenda. Na tukitoka hapa, hakuna kurudi nyuma, ni kusonga mbele. Niseme.
Mimi ndio Deputy President wa Kenya, the Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki, finding the need or the necessity to actually state his position, which everyone knows. He is a Deputy President of Kenya.
Yes.
Definitely it's causing jitters. We've seen it's causing jitters even within the Mount Kenya region, that leaders allied to UDA from that region are already demanding that if at all they do not retain that position, things will change. It has drawn even the attention of DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua, the former Deputy President. This is what he had to say about the shifting allegiances or threats with regard to the running mate position for William Ruto.
Hiyo wabunge ya Mlima Kenya, mnasema ati mnatisha Ruto, ati akitoa soprano ati mtaenda broad base. Hakuna mtu iko kwa broad base, ni nyinyi peke yenu mmebaki, mkwende huko na mkwende. Harambe! Tena niwaambie nyinyi wabunge ya Mlima, you sold your soul to Kasongo. You are the slaves of William Ruto. Muliuza roho zenu na akili zenu kwa William Ruto. Hamuna nafasi ya kumwambia chochote because nyinyi ni watumwa ya William Ruto. Nyinyi watu ya Mlima, munalia ati munataka kiti ya naibu ya rais. Mulikuwa with the Deputy President elected by the people, a strong man to stop Ruto from finishing Mount Kenya. Mukamtoa, mukaweka weakling, mukaweka robot, mukwende huko, muwete kabisa mukabisa. Huyu Kasongo tumemweka kwa kona. Sasa na watu yake, watu ya Kenya Kwanza na watu ya ODM wanataka kubadilisha narrative. Wanataka kututoa kwa mambo ya Kasongo na vile ameharibu Kenya. Ati tuanze kuongea mambo ya Kindiki na watu ya ODM. Sisi hatuwezi toka hapo. Mimi nataka kuambia watu ya upinzani, msiangukie hiyo mtego. Kasongo ameongea na watu ya ODM na wale ya UDA, amewaambia waanze debate ati nani atakuwa Deputy President. Hiyo ni mambo ya ujinga. Sisi hatuna haja na mambo ya Deputy President, tunataka kupeleka Kasongo nyumbani, aende nyumbani.
Yes, indeed. According to Rigathi Gachagua, this is definitely a psyop. It's engineered by the government to draw attention to something else rather than the president himself. But it would appear that running mate position or the deputy president position, on whichever side of the political divide, is going to be a hot potato heading to 2027.
Well, yes, you would expect that to happen, especially because what we call the running mate position comes with a region. Politics of Kenya, as they are right now, they are divided into regions, and that is exactly what the Gen Z have been trying to fight, because traditionally it falls within a particular alignment of blocks that has tribes and this and that, and that's how we align ourselves before we go into an election. So that is why you see that there will be a lot of debate in regards to the running mate and who becomes what, because obviously you are bringing some people. You are coming with your people. And I want to echo what you've heard the Rigathi Gachagua say there in regards to what debate we are now having. I mean, why are we having a debate about who becomes the running mate of the president when at the same time we are saying the president is going home? Mm-hmm. It is irrelevant to know who becomes his running mate if both of them are still going to go home anyway. Because there's no running mate who is going to be elected if your president did not attain enough votes to be elected as a leader. And people need to understand how the mountain operates. I mean, the people of the mountain do not necessarily follow someone. If you listen to what he is saying, he's talking how the people are saying. That's why you see even the DCP party in the Kuskiza ground. Because the people of the mountain actually shapes the narrative on how their leaders are supposed to behave. When you hear these leaders who are with UDA right now being told that they cannot come and purport to be moving out of government, to go where? They have nowhere to go. All these people will be swept away in 2027. They will lose their votes, their seats. I can tell you that for sure. The mountain people are very unforgiving when it comes to you doing what they do not like. Mm-hmm. Because apparently they understand one thing very clearly, why they elect you. You are their representative. They are the one who elected you. And when this particular thing that brought a lot of issues, the impeachment of the Rigathi Gachagua came, actually there was a public participation that was conducted by Parliament. And if you remember clearly, 99% of the people from the mountain said, we do not want him impeached. That means they were not ready to come and welcome Kidiki as their option. But the theatrics had started earlier. It started in Panari Hotel in Nyahururu, where a section of people came together and said, now we will not be receiving our issues, or we will not be channeling our demands to the government through Rigathi Gachagua, or be channeling our demands, our needs in the government through Kidiki. He was the interior minister at that particular moment. So Ruto was preparing. He was preparing the ground and everything for what he wanted to do to impeach him. Apparently that is exactly what is happening here. When you hear the theatrics of who is becoming the deputy, he's preparing the ground again for the unlikely, for the eventuality that he may not as well dictate. Because if ODM comes with a demand on the paper, and they say that they want the seat of the deputy president, what's going to happen? Mm-hmm. What is he going to tell them? The constitution does not allow you to elect two. You cannot have two running mates. Mm-hmm. He's going to have one. And that's why you hear even Kidiki himself is talking. Why is Kidiki talking? He knows there's something happening. And if you hear, when you see in smoke somewhere, there is fire. Yes. There is absolutely no way.
Don't you think that President William Ruto has managed somewhat in his first term as president to ensure that there's debate around the deputy president's position? By impeaching his deputy, now by talking about possibility about a change in running mate. He even suggested the next running mate should be female. He has managed somewhat to ensure that there's a lot of debate around the deputy president's position. Don't you think that, yes, Rigathi Gachagua is right, that the president is drawing attention away from the presidency?
Absolutely. Because when he went, he met his people, the people at the State House the other day, he told them that the only sure thing they have in these negotiations that are happening is the chief of the president. You hakuna mahali naenda. What does that mean? Any other thing you see, he's trying to remove the attention. And we are dealing with a very smart guy. Everybody knows that you cannot get to the level he is right now if you do not have something in between. And he's a smart person. So he understands that the perception and the narrative that is happening right now of one term and we want to send you home has actually gone for far too long than they expected. If you listen to what they say, they would even come and tell you, oh, this thing about Sifuna Haita and Barisana, it will only go for 1, 2, 3 months. That's what they said when they impeached Rigathi Gachagua. They even told us that within 1 month, he would have been forgotten. He has been on the news headlines since the day he was impeached to yesterday. Yesterday, he was still there. Everybody followed to know what he is saying because he became the voice of the people. He chose to become the voice of the people because of there was nobody to speak on behalf of the people. And you understand that Kenyans have got their own say. And you know what they are saying. They are not happy with this, they're not happy with that. Who is there to actually pronounce it? Who is there to actually say, this is what we want? Now we are getting into 2027. It is important to shape the narrative and try and play around with perception of how people think and how the debate are shaped and how the conversation are happening, especially now. Because if the conversation of sending you home continues up to mid of this year, then that means you are going home. Yes.
For the deputy president to come and declare that he is deputy president, that means something. If you are a lawyer, you don't keep saying I am a lawyer. We know you're a lawyer. It means that he understands that that position is under threat. Do you think that that also plays to President William Ruto's hands, that he'd want everyone around him a bit uncomfortable and not so sure of their position? so that they can declare their allegiance to him?
No, I don't think so. My view is that Professor Kindiki was speaking to his constituents. In politics, you must continuously communicate to your constituency. You must continuously give assurance. You must continuously, clarify for them the position in an environment that has very many voices, speaking. And in my view, I do not see a threat to Professor Kindiki's position. As I said earlier on, you don't fix it unless it is broken. And Professor Kindiki has done a sterling job compared...
Isn't it already broken?
Compared to, the mess that was there in terms of the impeached deputy president that would be pulling, away from what the president was saying and was not able to represent government positions in various things. So it presented a government that appeared disorganized. In this case, we have a deputy president who has the confidence of the president, a deputy president who has demonstrated his capability through the leadership of the various cabinet committees, that is capable of, helping the president in managing the cabinet and managing the government, and a deputy president that is able to articulate government positions quite well and unite the country, and a deputy president that has refused to be invited into, looking like he represents an ethnic entity, but rather pushing a national outlook. In my view, that, as I said, that ultimately the coalition partners, they have not even started the active negotiations. They are going to negotiate and settle on what works. And I believe that when they look at that, they will find that Professor Kindiki is still the best that, they can take into elections. But even as it is the best that they will take into elections, I do not think that in having Professor Kindiki as a running mate means that ODM is losing. I want to challenge your assertion that it's not broken yet. If at all it wasn't broken, the president would not see the need to bring ODM. No, it's not broken. The president's philosophy is that we need to have a broad-based government in which the fractious nation, and we have had a fractious nation for a very long time, tries to pull together so that everybody feels to be part of government. And that is resolving a problem, a structural problem that we have had in this nation over the years. And I am certain that, because I come from Kisumu, which is one of the strongest backyards of ODM, that when you talk to the man in the streets in Kisumu, what they are keen on is one, representation in government, not necessarily symbolism. Because the question is, if you give the people of Kisumu the Ministry of Roads to compare with the deputy presidency, the question is, what does the deputy president bring? What does the Ministry of Roads bring? If you give them a ministry on blue economy that would resolve, the economy of the lake through reviving the lake. I'm just giving the lake as one of the strongholds of ODM, and you give them the deputy presidency. My view is that they will go for those issues that resolve their basic problems rather than going for symbolism.
Yes. We've seen a number of MPs from the Mount Kenya region who belong to UDA already expressing their concerns with regard to this, and even issuing threats, going to the extent of saying that if at all it doesn't, this doesn't happen, then probably will move out. You think that's coming from nowhere?
In a political scene like this, we will have very many voices coming up and reacting to positions, okay? I don't think that we have reached a point where any supporter of Professor Kindiki should, be in fear. that anybody is going to take positions of Professor Kindiki. Professor Kindiki is very well respected, for instance, when you come to, you know, the slum that I grew up in Kisumu called Manyata, or when you come to the village that I come from called Nyamware in Kisumu. You see when he visits those places, he is treated with a lot of respect. You notice actually Boburu Odinga chose Kisumu to be the point where he told Professor Kindiki that we are not interested in your seat, okay? And that you are our friend. Okay, so I can tell you for sure that the issue of the deputy presidency is not a crisis. Okay, and that the crowds that would then inform the membership of ODM are not necessarily looking for. They are looking for participation in the government. They are looking for a government that works for them. They are looking for an opportunity for the young people. And I would actually challenge Sifuna and Babu that they have an opportunity to grow within this system, to one day get to the point where they would emerge. It is also interesting, as I end, that the media seems to be pushing a very interesting narrative. You realize that a few weeks ago, Babu was pushing himself to be the party leader. You realize that the media has pushed him to the back burner, and that the banner right now that is being presented on Kenyans is Sifuna. Basically, the media is trying to manage ODM.
That's an interesting assertion.
To serve the political interest that informs this.
I want us to consider the other side of the political divide. We've focused a lot on ODM and the Kenya Kwanza and probably the UDA-ODM coalition, but the United Opposition is going for a 2-day retreat starting today to come up with a method of electing their candidate as well, and also choose a running mate also. So the running mate debate also is alive there. It is the method that they will employ to do this. We've had previously people being interviewed, and they did not take that so kindly. But how do you think they're going to go into this? What are the biggest challenges ahead of this 2-day retreat?
Well, you know, there's nothing that is as important as sometimes taking time to take stock. You know, after vigorous campaigns where everybody is campaigning in their own way, because as you know, right now, we have every party presenting their person as a preferred presidential candidate. It is always important to go back and find that unity of purpose that it is that brings you together. There's a reason why they are united opposition, because the different parties coming together for a common goal. So going down into the retreat and of course taking stocks of what it is that they have managed to achieve right now and what are the challenges, and of course you know that they have been having a problem with security, and apparently some 10 days ago they visited even the IG to present some bit of a memorandum in terms of complaints and demands that some of these things have to be met, where they were promised this and the other. It is always good to take stocks because the journey ahead requires people to walk as one. So they need to actually sit down and ask themselves questions whether there's something they're doing right, whether there's something they're not doing right, and where they need to correct. And most importantly, as you rightly put it, they also need to find how they are going to actually arrive into a common, presidential candidate, because everybody would want to be named as one. But they are, of course, going to have their own formula on how they will arrive into that, including now who becomes the deputy, who becomes this and the other. So it is important that as momentum of politics takes shape, and as the year now grow older, it's no longer a new year as we used to call it. We are headed to the first quarter, to the end of the first quarter of the year. It is important to know the milestone, for example, at what point do we do what? They need to come up with what we call the schedule of work. The schedule of work is where you actually date your activities. So you need to understand at what level do we announce this. The other day you had the DCP party leader saying that they also need to wait a little bit because they are waiting for more people who are going to actually join. It is good to also have a cut line on when those people should be able to come and join. And if they have not joined, for example, the wagon, what happens after that? Because eventually, the United Opposition understands, and they are already aware, that it is a game of numbers that they are getting themselves into. So you better grab that calculator and start knowing where you're getting your votes from. Otherwise, a sitting president requires not just numbers, but good numbers together.
Okay.
So it is a responsibility they have to ensure that those numbers are there, and you cannot achieve those numbers if you are not united as you proclaim to be.
They also must be watching what's happening in ODM, and with this new faction that's rising and creating excitement around the country, this is something that they would want a hand into as well. Do you think that that will be part of the conversation, how to attract probably the likes of Sifuna, Babu Owino and James Orengo to their side?
Absolutely. If that happens, it's a big win for the united opposition, and you're aware of that, because they don't come empty-handed, as maybe the other faction would want to purport it. But obviously, they will be leaving the huge chunk of ODM supporters, especially from the western side of Kenya, where obviously you know that is the biggest, the second biggest basket in terms of votes in Kenya. Okay. So everybody who is looking at numbers and how they add into the numbers of winning, not just 50+1, but winning with a big margin, they'll be looking into ensuring that they can actually consolidate that as a bloc. So I know united opposition will be looking into seeing whether they can position themselves to be attracted, to be attractive to what it is that is coming out of ODM, because the people who are coming out of ODM, these are not just people you just walk into and you tell them that they need to join you. They can decide to become a third force, and they would definitely go all the way to the end, because they are very principled and very serious about what it is that they believe in. So they would want to see that before they join you. And maybe probably that will call for some bit of housekeeping kidogo in terms of a united opposition, and position themselves in a manner that they can attract that particular function that is coming out of ODM. So I believe, yes, it is a function that I would want to see joining the united opposition. I know they are saying one term, but saying one term doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to go into an election together. So they can actually present themselves, and they have all the qualifications that they can produce one of theirs to be actually a potential candidate. So it will be the job, it will be the task of the united opposition principles to be able to convince those ones that are coming out of ODM, because we can clearly tell they are not going to join. Right. There is absolutely no way they will change their tune and say two term. They will continue saying one term all the way to the end. And as that particular function divide, it is going to be such a huge win for the united opposition if that particular function becomes part of the united opposition and present themselves as the competition that William Ruto is going to face.
Finally, final words, Wakili, more chance of one term, a bigger percentage now of the political divide saying one term, more than it was a few weeks back. Final comment.
No, I don't think the united opposition is going to get anywhere. They have not gotten anywhere. There's been a lot of noise about them uniting. Almost 2 years down the road, it has not turned into anything. There is no discipline amongst themselves so that they speak one language and come together. They are not capable of choosing a leader. They have there is no philosophy. There's no ideology. There is no, program that they represent that they would say is uniting them. And you see, you cannot add 0 plus 0 and get 10. The by-elections clearly proved that their support bases were, very minor, ethnic and clan, and that President William Ruto remains to be the only candidate for 2027 who has a national outlook, has a national philosophy, has a national network, is capable of pulling the country together. So my view is that the united opposition will continue in their aspirations to try and come together. They will not come together. And even if they were to come together, the numbers that they can pull is not enough to defeat President William Ruto, because they tried it in the by-elections, and the results was that they lost in all parliamentary elections, and the majority of them just won small MCA seats in their strongholds, apart from certain outliners. That's all.
Right.
Thank you.
Wakili Joshua Nyamori, asante sana for your time at TV47. And Ikuwa Ambote, political analyst, our panelists this morning, as we took a look at the headlines. Starving amid plenty is a big headline on the front page of the Daily Nation. Matters to do with the ongoing drought crisis and the issue of starvation, and they draw the parallels between what's happening with the glut, some products in some areas in Kenya, while others sleep hungry. But the big conversation is about what's happening in the Orange Democratic Movement, with this new faction led by Edwin Sifuna gaining a lot of traction. So Orange showdown on the top strip of the Daily Nation. We have the same story here on the front page of Star. Thousands attend Sifuna rally amid chaos and tear gas, but this big story there is pensioners to retire with millions in new NSSF savings system. The Standard, Sifuna roars on the front page, and on the Taifa Leo, Kimeumana ODM. That's a big conversation. Sifuna, Sifuna, Sifuna. Well, thank you so much, and the conversation continues online on that question that we'd asked you. TV47 YouTube, TV47 Kenya on YouTube, on Facebook, and TV47 Digital on X. Well, after the break, we switch gears and talk matter sports. The crew for the Monday Blitz is on standby. Duncan Mutua, what do you have for us?
All right, thank you so much, Fred. We have a lot lined up for you in the Monday Blitz. Remember, yesterday our national football team, that is, our national rugby sevens team, that is Shujaa, failed to win in the HSBC Division 1 HSBC Division 1 series. Also, we're going to talk to matters to do in Nairobi United. They have failed to win their last 6 matches at the Confederation Cup in the group stages. Also, we have the question of the day. Remember, we must talk about English Premier League, and we have the question of the day. Arsenal and Manchester City, 4-point gap. You, as a viewer back at home, which team do you think will bag home the EPL title with 8 matches to go, or rather with 12 matches to go for the EPL 2020, for the 2025-2026 season to end? Which team do you think will bag the EPL title? Fred, I don't know where you're sitting right now. Which team do you think will win at the end of the season?
Well, I'm a confessed Arsenal fan. I do hope we actually lift the league title this year. It's not going to be easy, but yes, I'm rooting for Arsenal all the way.
All right. Remember, it's a four-point gap, and we have seen them blowing. We have seen them blowing the lead. I hope what I call about last season, Fred. Also, Fred, and the viewer back at home, you can engage with us on our social media platform at TV47 News on X, at TV47 Kenya on Facebook, also on YouTube. We are also live on YouTube. Question of the day is on our social media platform. Fred, back to you.
All right. Yes, indeed. Monday Blitz coming up after the break. This side of the studio, we've already done with our conversation. This being Monday, of course, we'll continue with our conversation. All right. So the question now is on sports, with a 4-point gap between Arsenal and Citizen and Manchester City. Who will bag home the EPL title? Matter Sports there on the front page. Continue engaging with us on all our social media pages. TV47 Digital on X, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also tag us on this conversation, especially on Arsenal. I will definitely contribute. My handle is at Freddy in the morning.
My handle is at _Dida. That conversation about Sifuna, I'm still interested about it. Do you think that crowd will translate into votes come 2027?
Something to simply probe, because the Gen Zs were quite happy this weekend.
Yes.
I saw them at the rugby event chanting Sifuna, Sifuna.
Yes.
Will that really translate, or will they convert that kind of excitement into a proper voting block come next year?
Talk to us.
Talk to us.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Peel citrus fruits without the mess. There's only one downside to eating an orange: the tedious task of peeling it. To avoid the